Our story begins in ancient Egypt, around 3600 BC, in the heart of the Nile Valley. The locals chant the name En-Saba-Nur, the first and most powerful mutant, as he's escorted by his loyal horsemen, pestilence, famine, war, and death, toward a sacred pyramid for a dark ritual. The goal is to transfer En-Saba-Nur's consciousness into a mutant with regenerative powers, granting him eternal life. However, betrayal strikes as rebel Egyptians collapse massive stone columns, attempting to bury the powerful being and his followers. A brutal battle ensues as the horsemen try to fend off the treachery, but one by one they fall. In a final act of loyalty, death shields En-Saba-Nur, ensuring the ritual completes. Though successful, the mighty mutant becomes entombed beneath the rubble, seemingly lost forever. Fast forward to 1983, Ohio. A high school class discusses the historic showdown between Magneto and the world powers. The students recall how he once attacked the president, but was stopped by the legendary Mystique, also known as Raven. Meanwhile, teenager Scott Summers struggles with his uncontrollable powers. His eyes burn with a dangerous energy. During class, a jealous student confronts him in the bathroom, but Scott loses control, releasing a powerful optic blast that destroys the room and sends his attacker flying. Elsewhere in West Berlin, a hidden underground mutant fight club is in full swing. The crowd cheers as Angel, a fierce mutant with wings, dominates the ring. His next opponent, the teleporting mutant Nightcrawler, is released from a cage. The two are forced to fight for their lives. Nightcrawler avoids the confrontation, but Angel warns that if they don't fight, they both die. Nightcrawler cleverly teleports and shocks Angel against the electric ropes. Before things turn deadly, Raven arrives and cuts the power, rescuing Nightcrawler while Angel flies off into the night. Meanwhile, Eric Lensherr, Magneto, lives a quiet life in Poland under the alias Henryk Gorski. He works at a metal factory with his wife Magda and daughter Nina, finding peace. He sings to his daughter, vowing she will never suffer as he did. In the US, Alex Summers, Havok, brings his younger brother Scott to Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Scott wears a blindfold to control his dangerous eyes. There, he meets Jean Grey, a powerful telepath. Alex introduces Scott to Hank McCoy, now a teacher. The brothers meet Professor Charles Xavier, who welcomes them into the fold. The scene begins at Charles Xavier's school, where a young Scott Summers stands nervously blindfolded. Professor X instructs him to trust his instincts and remove the blindfold. Scott hesitates, then suddenly a powerful energy beam erupts from his eyes, slicing a tree in half. Xavier, instead of reprimanding him, expresses admiration. Scott fears he's about to be expelled, but instead, he's officially welcomed to the school. Meanwhile, in Cairo, CIA agent Moira McTaggart tracks a mysterious cult. She follows them into an underground temple where they attempt to awaken En-Saba-Nur, aka Apocalypse, the world's first mutant. Moira escapes just before the temple erupts, triggering a global earthquake. In a factory, Eric Lensherr, Magneto, saves a co-worker from molten metal after the earthquake hits, revealing his mutant powers. He's troubled, questioning his past and identity. Back at Xavier's school, Jean Grey experiences visions of global destruction and fears her powers. Charles reassures her and, with Beast's help, uses Cerebro to trace the tremors, discovering Moira's involvement. In a small town, Eric and his wife Magda plan a quiet life. However, their daughter, Nina, goes missing, found surrounded by police. To protect her, Eric reveals his mutant identity. In the ensuing chaos, Nina's powers awaken, causing birds to attack the officers. A panicked cop accidentally kills Nina and Magda with an arrow. Fueled by grief, Eric uses Nina's necklace to kill everyone involved. Meanwhile, Apocalypse awakens and meets Aurora Monroe, a street thief with mutant abilities. When she's cornered, Apocalypse intervenes, killing 3 men and fusing another into a wall. Charles and Alex Summers visit Moira at the CIA, seeking answers about the Egyptian incident. Moira refuses to share classified information, but Charles uses his charm to extract it. Ororo offers shelter to Apocalypse, who absorbs modern knowledge through a TV and becomes disgusted by the world. He believes humanity is weak and must be purified. His conviction convinces Ororo to follow him, and he enhances her powers. Meanwhile, Raven finds Nightcrawler and brings him to Caliban, a mutant broker. Caliban reveals that Magneto has returned and tragedy has struck. Raven, determined, takes Nightcrawler and sets off to confront the situation. At Xavier's school, Hank McCoy, Beast, is working on special glasses for Scott Summers to help control his optic blasts and improve his vision. As Scott adjusts to life at school, he meets Jean Grey, and although they instantly connect, other students mock him. Meanwhile, the ancient mutant Apocalypse is assembling a team. With Storm by his side, he approaches Caliban, a mutant tracker, but Caliban refuses to join. Then, Psylocke appears, intrigued by Apocalypse. After witnessing his power and having her potential unlocked, she pledges her loyalty. They then find Angel, whose wings are badly burned. While Psylocke suggests finding stronger recruits, Apocalypse decides to transform Angel, giving him deadly metallic wings. Angel joins the Horsemen of Apocalypse. At the mansion, Raven, Mystique, and Nightcrawler arrive and are greeted by Hank. Nightcrawler, fascinated by human life, goes to the mall with Scott and friends, experiencing a culture shock. Hank asks Raven to help convince Professor X to form a new team, the X-Men, but Raven's mission is to talk about Eric, Magneto, who's gone dark. Eric returns to his factory job and locks the exits, confronting the workers. He speaks about loss, a pain that never fades, and is about to take drastic action when Apocalypse and his team arrive. Eric tells them not to interfere, but Apocalypse kills everyone in the factory. Apocalypse then takes Eric to Auschwitz, urging him to channel his rage and manipulate the Earth's metal. Fueled by anger and sorrow, Eric unleashes his power, destroying everything in sight. Apocalypse watches, satisfied with his creation of a new world. News of the destruction spreads quickly, and Peter Maximoff, Quicksilver, Eric's son, senses his father's involvement. Despite his mother's warning, Peter decides to act. Back at the school, Charles Xavier, Alex Summers, and Moira McTaggart return. Charles is surprised to find Raven there, and when she greets Moira, she realizes Moira doesn't remember her. Charles reveals that he wiped Moira's memory for her safety. Raven urgently explains what's happening with Eric, and Charles uses Cerebro to locate him. He tries to convince Eric to return, but Eric, filled with rage, refuses. As the conversation continues, Charles detects another powerful presence, Apocalypse. Before Charles can react, Apocalypse hijacks Cerebro and takes control of his mind. Using Charles to access Earth's systems, Apocalypse launches all nuclear weapons into the sky. Realizing the stakes, Charles urges Alex, Havoc, to destroy Cerebro before Apocalypse can use it again. Alex follows through, but as they prepare to leave, Apocalypse arrives with his horsemen, teleporting into the school. In an instant, he grabs Charles and disappears. Alex, desperate to stop him, releases his powers, but the blast backfires. The explosion rips through Hank's lab, setting off a massive fireball that consumes the school. Just when hope seems lost, Quicksilver arrives in slow motion, saving every student from the blast in mere seconds, whisking them to safety before the smoke clears. Soon after, Scott, Jean, Nightcrawler, and another student return from the mall, only to find the school in ruins. Scott searches frantically for his brother Alex, but Hank delivers the devastating news. Alex was closest to the explosion and didn't survive. Grief-stricken, Scott breaks down, with Jean and Nightcrawler offering support. Suddenly, a helicopter lands, and men in military gear claim to be there to help. Moira approaches, only for the leader to reveal himself as William Stryker. His team activates a sonic weapon, knocking everyone out except Scott, Jean, and Nightcrawler. As the others are taken prisoner, Jean uses her telepathy to hide their group, bending one soldier's mind. They sneak onto the helicopter, but once inside, an electric field neutralizes their powers, trapping them. Stryker takes Raven, Hank, Peter, and Moira to a secret facility. Despite their warnings about Apocalypse, Stryker ignores them and leaves. Meanwhile, Apocalypse brings Charles to his ancient lair, intending to use his telepathy to broadcast a global message. Charles refuses, saying he needs Cerebro, but Apocalypse grins, revealing that he'll amplify Charles's power through himself. Charles begins broadcasting, but hides a secret code meant only for Jean, who hears it clearly. At the facility, Peter admits to Raven that Eric, Magneto, is his father, and wonders if Eric can be saved. Guided by Charles' message, Scott, Jean, and Nightcrawler make their way through the base. They discover a locked chamber where a growl echoes. Scott thinks it's a beast, but Jean senses it's a man. Jean takes a chance and opens the door, unleashing Wolverine, savage and bloodthirsty. He tears through the guards, leaving a trail of destruction. The trio follows cautiously. When Wolverine reaches the exit, Jean intervenes, removing the device controlling him. She touches his mind, restoring fragments of his memories before he disappears into the snowy wilderness. Scott, Jean, and Nightcrawler race to the facility's holding cells. Scott heroically uses his optic blast to destroy the door, freeing Moira and the other mutants. With no time to lose, they head toward Charles, knowing the clock is ticking. Meanwhile, Apocalypse continues to rebuild his massive pyramid, destroying everything in his path. He urges Magneto to help him cause global destruction. Apocalypse's true plan is revealed. He intends to take over Charles' body, transferring his consciousness to gain ultimate control over humanity. Charles is essential to this plot. Raven and her team arrive and quickly devise a plan. Raven and Peter will handle Eric, while the rest focus on rescuing Charles. Apocalypse orders his horsemen to prepare for war, ensuring no one can stop the transfer. As Hank, Jean, Scott, and Nightcrawler fight their way through, they surprise Angel. Nightcrawler sneaks into the pyramid, but the battle intensifies. Outside, Storm and Psylocke block their path, leading to a fierce rematch. After another battle, Nightcrawler reaches Charles, preventing the transfer. However, the team struggles against the Horsemen. Raven tries to reach Eric, reminding him of his family and the chance for redemption. Peter struggles to confess he's Eric's son, but can't find the words. As they head to escape, Angel and Psylocke destroy their plane, forcing them to teleport to safety. Amid the chaos, Apocalypse regains consciousness, calling for Charles. Peter lands several blows on Apocalypse, but is overpowered. Raven fails to save him. Apocalypse turns to Charles, who tries to stop him but is unsuccessful. Apocalypse learns Charles' location. As Apocalypse moves toward Charles, Magneto changes sides, betraying him. With the team's help, they battle Apocalypse, but the odds are against them. At the last moment, Charles calls on Jean to unleash her power. Jean overwhelms Apocalypse with her telekinesis, while the team weakens him. Just as he seems to escape, Storm steps in, freezing him. Apocalypse disintegrates, muttering, "All is revealed." With the world saved, John helps Charles regain consciousness, and he restores Moira's memories. Back at the school, the team begins rebuilding. Eric and Jan work on the X-Mansion, while Peter contemplates his relationship with Eric. He decides to tell Eric the truth one day, but remains with the team for now. Charles hopes Eric will stay, but bids him farewell. Raven prepares new recruits for X-Men training, and Hank releases Sentinels to assist in their preparations. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more great content. Thank you for watching.